Hi, my name is Mark Coblentz. I'm 14 years old, almost 15. Don't tell my dad, he doesn't want me to drive yet. And I live in Stratford, Mississippi, and I love to cook. I have a very salt and pepper kind of story to how I got started cooking, I guess you can say. I love mac and cheese, mac and cheese that comes in a box. And so I'd always ask my mom, hey, can you make me blank mac and cheese? One day she got fed up and she's like, no, I won't make you that, all right? Learn to make it yourself. So I started making my own mac and cheese. My mom still had to be home. I had to tell her, hey, I'm making mac and cheese, is that all right? But then eventually she started to trust me more, and I could make it when she wasn't home. And now I still make it to this day. I mean, I love to cook, but making mac and cheese from scratch, it's really good. And my dad does pizza a lot, so he would always do homemade pizza every Saturday night, and it was the greatest thing on earth. My dad especially loved watching Food Network. So we always had this one specific show, Good Eats, hosted by Alton Brown. I love Good Eats. It's so informative. Taught me about bread making, how to cook steak, how to make a sauce, different properties of wine and what they pair with. And it got me really interested in cooking. And so when I was about 10 or 11, I picked up cooking again. I started making small stuff, appetizers, salads. I love seeing the looks on my parents' faces. They really did love it. And so that kind of what sparked my interest. So I started watching more Good Eats. I started watching more food recipes. That kind of was a brainchild of what I wanted to do. When I was 11 or 12, a show called Rachel vs. Guy Kids Cook-Off started coming on Food Network. And I loved it. I love Guy Fieri. And I started thinking, hey, it'd be pretty cool to go on TV and show the world what I can do. So I watched the first season of Rachel vs. Guy Kids Cook-Off, and I started doing a little research about how to sign up. And it turned out they're starting to do open casting calls about the time that first season was coming out. So my dad is a video producer. He's actually producing this whole show. All of this is his studio. That's his camera equipment. And so I was like, hey, Dad, let's do a couple little YouTube videos to turn in. Like, all right, let's do it. We shot my almost famous chicken pot pie video, and oh boy. Today we're making chicken pot pie. So first off, we're starting off with about 1.5 pounds of chicken tenderloin. We're putting this in about 2 cups of water. So I got about 2 tablespoons of honey or so to go flavor up the water. I'm about to put a tablespoon or so of this spice mixture, a little bit of cayenne, a little bit of herbs, a little bit of spices, black pepper, all that good stuff. All right, we're gonna put about a teaspoon of liquid smoke. All right, a little bit goes a long way with this. And for a little zing, hot sauce, about 5 or 6 dashes of your favorite hot sauce. And of course, you always gotta salt the water. We're gonna put this on high heat for 15 to 20 minutes. All right, so let's go ahead and get about, say, a tablespoon of olive oil in this pan and start cooking this up for our vegetables to saute up. So here are the vegetables we're gonna be sauteing. We have about 3 sprigs of celery, 2 things of carrots, a cup each of frozen corn and frozen sugar snap peas, and half a cup of frozen onions for convenience, and a cup of homemade chicken broth. Also, we have a cup of cold milk that's been sitting in the fridge. So, we're gonna put in both the carrots. So we need to saute these till they're about transparent. That should take about 3 minutes. So we also want to put in these onions and our corn. So just throw it in there. Oh yeah, this is looking nice and pretty. That looks just like a cornucopia of color right there. So let's go back over here and get our homemade chicken stock and our milk. Chicken stock first. You can always use store-bought chicken stock, but I just happen to have this homemade, and so I decided to use it. So the sugar snap peas, they add a nice sweetness, a nice crunch, a nice snap. Just listen to that. The nice color, I love that. And I think my food should have color and sound to it. Look how beautiful that is cooked. Oh yeah. Can't wait to eat it. We're gonna go ahead and move our chicken into our sauce. So go ahead and add a little bit of groups at a time. So it's time to make the crust.
So we're gonna have our flour, about 1 3/4, and we're gonna have to use non-grainy salt, like sea salt. We don't need to use that, just use regular table salt. And we're gonna sift this all together. 2 tablespoons and a half of our shortening, cold, and another 2 tablespoons of our cubed butter. So when you're squeezing the dry ingredients like this, you always have to just be moving your hands constantly. So right here I have ice water. It's about 7 to 9 tablespoons is all you need, but I always keep just about a cup of it, and then I drizzle it in a little bit at a time. All right, and then with your hands, just mix it together a little bit. So you want to go ahead and turn this full ball of dough out. So just knead it, constantly knead. That is a very good dough right there. What I like to do is I like to go in with a heavy approach. Just put all of our sauce, all of our veggies on top first, come back, clean out the pot. Simple, works just as well. Time to move back over and roll out the crust. All right, I think that about does it. So the trick is roll it over your rolling pin lightly so you can drape it over your dish. So if you happen to mess yours up like I did, just easily pull it out. So now we're ready to bake it for 30 to 40 minutes or until you like the perfect brownness and it's bubbling over. And that is how you make Mark's almost world famous chicken pot pie.
As you saw, that was pretty quality television, if I do say so myself. It was awesome. So we had that black electric stove. I boiled the chicken thighs, something I wouldn't have done now. I was just so young, I didn't know what I was doing on camera, but I loved it. So we submitted that. And a couple days later, actually, my dad got a call. We loved your video. We want to do some Skype interviews with you, talk to you, and get a feeling about what you're about. So we started doing Skype interviews. I think we did a total of 3 throughout the whole process. But first one was just one-on-one with the producers, talking about how the whole story, pretty much what this is, what I'm telling y'all right now, how I got into cooking, why I want to cook, and yada yada. So after all that quality television we turned in, nothing. I was down. I was a little sad, to be honest. A couple of weeks later, we got a call from the same casting company like, hey, sorry to hear you didn't make it, but we have new opportunities for you. It was for Chop Jr. Tried out for Chop Jr. They had all of our stuff. We turned it in. And, I think like 2 or 3 days later, we got a call from producers like, hey, we want you on Chop Jr. Would you be open in these weeks? And like, yeah. I got on Chop Jr. We flew to New York for a solid 4 or 5 days. My whole family flew out. I had a ton of fun. I met a lot of great chefs. I got to the final round. Deer. I've been taught cooking deer, all the way well done. That was farm-raised deer. So in my mind, I was thinking, hey, they probably hunted these, like from Central Park. So I got to cook it all the way well done. Nope, judges didn't want it like that. But even though I didn't win Chop Jr., I still succeeded in my goal. I lost to a really great chef, and I met a lot of new friends. I succeeded. I got on television, and I loved it, and I wanted to eat it up. I wanted to go on again. So about that time, I was doing some research. My dad was doing some research, and another big national television show was having an open casting call in Atlanta. I can't mention the name, but it's a big show, to say the least. And so my whole family, we went to Atlanta. At the open casting call, one of the things they had us do was cook an egg. They wanted to see how safe we were, if we were clean, and yada yada yada. Obviously, they liked my style, because about an hour and a half later, my dad got a call. Was like, hey, we like what we saw, and we want to see you tomorrow. And they gave us an address. We went to the callback. We made shrimp bechamel. Talked to the producers, had some one-on-one time interviews, headshots, and all of that. So they called us about a month and a half later, like, hey, we want your kid to be on the television show. Is that cool with y'all? Yes, please sign us up. We flew out to LA, and that's pretty much all I can tell y'all about it. It was a very fun experience. Again, met a lot of great chefs, made a lot of new friends, and had a ton of fun out in LA. Oh, and I also made the top 10 twice, which is a pretty big accomplishment, I have to say. So after all that, I came back home to Charlotte, Mississippi, finished out 7th grade, and I started cooking, did a ton of cooking. I found this newfound fire. Did a lot of YouTube videos, including mushroom caps.
Hi guys, today we're making a simple mushroom cap stuffed with feta and spinach. They're simple and delicious appetizer. They're so good that I think it's really the only way to make a mushroom hater a mushroom fanatic. So the ingredients for today are mushrooms, pine nuts, Parmesan, feta cheese, sour cream, spinach, nutmeg, salt, and pepper. This is a simple recipe. So it's about half a cup of sour cream. I use sour cream. You could use Greek yogurt, which is a really healthy alternative. And then about 1/4 a cup of feta, or if you like more, you like less, you can modify it. Parmesan, about same thing, Parmesan, 1/4 a cup. So you will get your hands a little messy during this, don't worry. And then half a cup of spinach. So this spinach really just soaks up all the flavor, all the yumminess. And then pine nuts. Pine nuts are a good additive. It just gives it a little bit of oomph to it. It gives you something to catch your teeth on. So you mix them up all nice mixed together. Nutmeg. You can use the nutmeg from the can, but I like fresh nutmeg just because it's so simple and it's so delicious. It seals the deal. So you just mix it all together. Salt and pepper, so you can adjust. The feta is already salty and so is the Parmesan, but still salt enhances all the flavors. It is now time to prepare the mushrooms. So you want the stem out, so you loosen them a little bit, swing side to side, and then you come straight out. Then you reach over, put a little spoonful of it. It's gonna be stuffing a lot, so be a little light with it. Then I have some leftover cheese, so I want a little bit of a Parmesan and just a crumble or so of feta. And then 3 pine nuts, all right? And then just repeat that about 10 or 20 times or until you're either out of filling or out of mushrooms. All right, guys, that's all of them. So now we're gonna season them with salt, pepper, and a little bit of olive oil to promote browning. So we are finishing off all the mushrooms with all the cheese we had left over. This is an optional step, but I think it promotes browning really well. Okay, so we're gonna put this in the oven for 10 to 15 minutes or until it's golden brown delicious. It all depends on how high you have your oven temperature. Mine's at 375, so it should take about 12 minutes, I think. Look at that, it's beautiful. It's golden brown, crunchy and crispy, amazing. So that's how you make my easy, cheesy caps.
So after the mushroom caps, we did a little digging into my mom's recipe, trying to come up with a quick, simple 5-6 ingredient dessert we can do for the holidays. And we came up with 5 ingredient toffee bars that people still do love to this day.
Hey guys, Mark the Chef here, and today I'm making very simple 5 ingredient saltine toffee. So it starts with saltines, of course, butter, brown sugar, chopped nuts. I'm using pecans. You can use walnuts or peanuts or cashews, and then chocolate chips. This is very good because it's simple and you can give away for birthdays or the holidays, and I'm gonna get cooking. All right, so now that we got the crackers laid out, time to make the toffee. 2 ingredients, the butter and then the brown sugar, and then cook it for about 10 minutes and we're ready to go. Put the butter and sugar in the pan and cook till it melts. As soon as it comes to a rolling boil, cook for 3 minutes and then you're ready. So this looks ready. It's been cooking for 3 minutes and it's time to go over to the saltines. Pour the caramel over the saltines and spread it out into a nice even layer. Now cook this for 5 minutes to let the toffee set. Sprinkling chocolate chips over it, and I'm gonna let it set till it melts, and then I'm gonna spread it out. So wait about 3 minutes and they'll be ready to go. Now it's time to put on the pecans. Put it in the fridge or freezer for 2 hours, and then it's time to crack it. The toffee has been in the freezer for a couple hours, and now we're ready to crack. So it doesn't have to be in perfect shapes. It could be in irregular shapes, which I think looks very good. As you can see, after the massacre, it looks delicious. So we are now ready to put it in a holiday tin and give it away to our friends. So that's how you make easy 5 ingredient toffee. It's a great holiday gift if you can get out of the house before everybody eats it.
You know, all throughout this process of shooting YouTube videos, going to LA and all that, I started to realize, you know, how impactful this cooking has been on my life. For instance, you know, our favorite beach spot on earth is Dolphin Island off the shore of Alabama, and we went to our favorite shrimping place, and they actually let us go shrimping. We threw out the nets, we hauled them back in, cleaned them, took out all the fish we didn't want, fed them to the pelicans. You know, they're flying beside us. You know, and I started to realize that cooking started taking me to different places that I don't think I would have ever been able to go. One of the big places cooking has taken me was back to New York, actually, not for Chop Jr. this time, but for the kids' variety show called Wonderama. It's hosted by David Osmond. Wonderama had a live audience, a host, and contestants, I guess you can say. I had much smaller, like 2-3 minute segments. Cooking in front of a live audience is really hard, but I had a lot of fun. Again, you know, great exposure. New York is an awesome place. So while watching food TV has helped out a lot, learning recipes, one-on-one time with chefs has helped out a ton with my culinary career. One of the earliest chefs I've ever talked to and still have an ongoing relationship with was Chef Leon at Central Station Grill. We actually did a catfish dish with him. You know, the video's something else. I mean, I think it's the second or third video we done, and I'm a little more comfortable around the camera, but still had a long way to go. So I really started to, you know, start talking to the chefs around town. Chef Ty Timms, who owns Restaurant Tyler here in town, showed me a couple things, brought me back in the kitchen, showed me how to make sauces, how to do protein and all that, and that was a huge help. So the corporate chef of Eat With This group, Matt Bronsky, actually invited me over to one of their restaurants here in town, Harvey's, and he let me shadow him for a day. So they were prepping for lunch and dinner service, and man, talk about sensory overload. We did everything, you know. We did steaks, we portioned out steaks, we tested quiche. Man, I learned a lot that day, just about all aspects of the restaurant business, and that's been a huge part of my career and fueling, you know, my drive to be a chef one day. One of my most proud food achievements would probably be partnering up with Chef Nick Wallace and doing a tasting menu to say, of a couple appetizer dishes for Mississippi Food Network. He did all the recipes, and I went up there and I helped prep, and I mean, man, I had a ton of fun. Everything involved with it, you know, plating, prepping, organizing everything, mise en place, getting us set to be successful at service was a ton of fun. But in the end, I learned a lot from Chef. He did a great job representing Mississippi on Chopped, and I had a lot of fun cooking with him. So pretty much the whole idea behind making a chef is I go around town, at least to begin with, and I learn from certain chefs and artisans about their craft, you know, whether it's pasta making, whether it's corn, vegetables, whatever. They teach me a tidbit of what they know, and I come back to the studio and I try my best to recreate it and maybe put my own spin on a couple of dishes. I want to help y'all learn how to cook. If I can do it as a 14-year-old chef, then y'all can do it as adults, and even kids. Kids can cook too, and that's the message I'm trying to convey. Boxed macaroni and cheese is probably one of my favorite comfort foods from a box, and it's also one of the reasons why I got into cooking. I had to have my mac and cheese as a child. So I'm gonna show you how I like to make my homemade mac and cheese. And it all starts off with a gallon or so of boiling water that you salted with about a tablespoon of salt. That's very important. You need to heavily salt your water whenever you're cooking pasta. This is a pound of elbow macaroni. All right, I prefer elbows just because it's most like the classic boxed macaroni and cheese. You know, you can use whatever kind you want. Use little bow ties, you can use rigatoni, you can use spaghetti, I don't care. The sauce is so good. As soon as you put your stuff in the water, stir it around so it doesn't stick together, because there is a lot of starch on that. It could clump up. Put the lid back on, put a timer on for about 8 minutes for al dente. Al dente, it's where you bite into it and it gives just a little bit, but it still holds up firm and it doesn't get lost in the sauce. Now it's time to make the cheese sauce, which in my opinion is probably the most important part of the mac and cheese. You know, it's in the name. So it starts off in a heavy bottom saucepan, and I put in 2 tablespoons of butter and let that melt and let it get brown and nutty, all right? It should be fragrant, it should be lightly browned. All right, the butter's just started to pop and it's starting to smell a little nutty, a little brown. So I'm gonna drop in 2 tablespoons of flour. What we're making is a roux. It's a thickening agent, all right? It's a very important part of when the mother sauces bechamel. And so bechamel is just a milk sauce. You can add cream if you wanna get fancy. We're gonna stick with milk. But we're gonna let this get brown and nutty and should smell like toasted grains. About 2-3 minutes. It should be lightly brown in color. All right, it's been about 2 minutes and it's nice and lightly brown and smells very toasty. You know, that's a classic smell in my opinion. One of the classic French smells. Up there with roasting chicken and a simmering stock. Right here is 2 cups of whole milk with about 3 to 4 drops of your favorite hot sauce. This hot sauce in here is made for my friend. Very good, very spicy, so I'm only using a little bit. But slowly drizzle it in while you're whisking. You might spill some. Let this go until it's thickened up 4 to 5 minutes. The starch will gelatinize when it gets a little higher heat, and it'll start to boil and be able to coat the back of the spoon. All right, it doesn't coat the back of the spoon that well, but it will. You can be able to run your finger through it. It's called nappe. Another fancy French term, I know. This pasta's been going for about 8 minutes, so I'm gonna try it to see how the texture is. Always try your pasta. That's perfect. Has a little bit of texture to it, so when you bite down, it doesn't just disintegrate, and it holds sauce really well. Put the lid back on and leave that there to keep them warm. Turn the heat off, and we're gonna go back to the sauce. That didn't work. So the sauce has just been boiling for a second. Turn down the heat. Oh yeah, look at that. So you should be able to run your finger through it and leave a line. That's good. Slightly nutty, complex flavors. Oh man, that's good. So right here, I have about 10 ounces total, split between the middle, so about 5 ounces each of pepper jack and sharp cheddar. And so the reasons why I like using sharp cheeses like this, you know, that stuff that really stands out, is because this is a lot of mac and cheese. All right, I want this to be a good sauce. And so if your mac and cheese doesn't taste like mac and cheese, doesn't taste cheesy or anything, something's wrong with your mac and cheese. All right, just add in either cheese first, let it melt, then at the other end. Oh yeah, that looks good. And so, to bump up the flavor, I have about a teaspoon each of mustard powder, paprika, garlic powder, and salt. Just kind of mix them together. Now, I spent a while arranging these perfectly. Mix those in. That does look good. All right, now it's time to try it. That's good. Really cheesy. That paprika really comes through. But to kick it up a notch, I'm adding the secret ingredient, an egg. Egg will help this come together a little better, emulsify it, add a little extra fattiness and creaminess. So just gonna go ahead and crack it to the bowl. No looker. Hope this goes in. It's gonna be a pain to edit out. Would you look at that? Just gonna whisk it up a little bit. And I'm gonna slowly add in about half a cup of milk. So I'm gonna slowly, ladle in a couple ladles fulls of the sauce to slowly temper the eggs. So when I add it into here, it won't curdle the eggs. It won't make scrambled eggs. Try to whisk it in, if you're good with your left hand, and slowly add this in. That does look good. That brings it together. You know, it's a more cohesive sauce after that. That's really good. All right, drain your pasta, and we're gonna get it a final shot, and I'll show you how to combine the sauce. All right, so drain the pasta, got the sauce warming up again, been whisking it, get all the last little lumps out. Time for the moment of truth. It's a lot of sauce, but it's a lot of pasta. Well, so I do like my mac and cheese a little really saucy, actually. Now, the more, the better, in my opinion. And so, if you want more cheese, you can add more cheese. Oh man, that looks so good. You know, here's a very basic recipe that might not be as simple as boxed mac and cheese, but you know, a lot better tasting, if you know what I'm saying. Thank you all for joining me on this culinary journey, and I'll see y'all next time. I just wanted to say thank y'all to all the fans, all the people who've contributed to my culinary journey, all the people who supported the making of this TV show in the studio. Thank y'all for watching, and I'm really excited for y'all to come on this journey with me.